all that gibberish, the drunk guy, but I think he hit the mark. When my girlfriend told me today, you got to do something about that hair. You look like, and you see, I just shaved off a beard yesterday, a scraggly beard, just from like not wanting to. I haven't had to do anything in the past month, you know, as far as after my last reading, I haven't shaved since it, you know. So as far as appearances and just staying at home working is all I've been doing. And you know, I live way up in Manhattan and stuff, and so I don't have to put on any kind of bullshit. And with the beard and my hair like this, I look totally like a homeless guy, you know. Especially with, you know, those wool sock hats. That's what I wear when I'm walking the dog at night and in the morning and stuff, you know. And so, you know, I come in, and I have my sweatpants on. She says, "Man, you look like a fucking old." But I washed it, and now it's all fluffed out and shit. As far as my hair can be fluffed out, it's so straight. You recording this?
Yeah, I am.
Oh God.
That's all right. Hey.
Over aspirin, by the way.
So you know, who'd you play ball with? Like, what famous ball people went on?
What?
Like, what ball players when you were all like New York City?
Aspirin.
Uh-oh.
One is I'm gonna
yeah,
clarify.
I was recording, but
aspirin says it right on. Let's get a close up of that, Jack. What were you saying?
Like, you were all
Basketball?
city, right?
Yes, I was.
Like in '65 or something like that. Like, I think I recall.
It was a little bit, yeah, 66. Actually, my freshman and sophomore years were my best ones. I still played in my junior and senior years, and I made all city. But I was like, you know, on the, you know, like the not the first or second team All-American, but after my sophomore year, I made like, you know, the top 500 in the All-American thing, you know. But that was. See, then people thought it was drugs that ruined me after that, you know. But it wasn't. It was poetry. I got interested in poetry. The jock trip was running thin. See, I had to play in the summer tournaments to really, you know, keep up my edge, because I went to this private school, like I talk about in the basketball diaries, and it was a great education, but they were terrible with sports, the whole league, you know. And
so that's the opposite here.
And so the competition, you know, my freshman year, hardly anybody plays varsity ball in high school when they were freshmen. But when I came in as a freshman, I scored 47 points in my first game, you know. So we had one other good guy on the team that year. He was a junior. My freshman, sophomore years, this guy, Nacio Giles, he went on to play at Cornell. Black kid who was about 6'3", really strong, and had a great straight up leap, you know, didn't need to run. I could dunk a ball backwards, but I needed, you know, I wasn't a straight up and down jumper. I was a power jumper, you know. I wasn't a spring jumper, so I needed to get a running start. That helped me on like drives, because I could start my jump at the foul line and just stay in the air and draw fouls, you know. And a lot of times got me to draw offensive fouls, because they knew I'd make these moves down the middle and then stick a guy in there to take a shot, you know. But in that league, the only guy, when I was a freshman, Calvin Hill, who went on to be the running back for the Dallas Cowboys during their heyday, was playing for Riverdale, who had a great football team then, you know, which was in our league, the Ivy Prep League, you know. And he played basketball. Of course, he was 6'4". He's built like Jim Brown when he was a senior in high school. And, you know, he was the only guy who went on to sports notoriety, really. And I saw him play football in high school. He played quarterback. He just overran everybody, you know. But the thing is, you know, he's a pretty good basketball player. I remember on a fast break, I pinned his shot, you know. Like, you know, pinning is a big woof in New York in the playgrounds. If you pin a guy, what you're supposed to do, you know, he takes a layup on a fast break and you pin it to the backboard, you know, when you block it. It doesn't matter if you can call for goaltending or not, you got him, you know. If you could pin it and pin it for a second, then throw it into the crowd, then that's great, you know. I've seen some guys, like Connie Hawkins, in the playgrounds, pin guys, grab it, because he had such big hands, and bounce it twice on the backboard while he was still in the air, and then throw it over the fence of the playground before he came down. It was amazing. So at any rate, you know what, when I went to do that, though, I fouled the shit out of him, you know. I got the pin, but I landed on his back, and I never helped somebody up so fast, because he had a mean look on his face, and he was a, you know, bad dude.
He
Boy.
finished his career with the Browns here.
Yeah, did he?
Yeah.
He was great with
he was super.
You know,
He was class. You know, he was a class act.
Yeah, he went to Yale instead of, you know, and so.
I'm sure the Yale doesn't let you slide by being a dummy athlete either.
I'm sure he's doing very well. No, they don't,
yeah.
You know. I mean, you know, look at Bill Bradley at Princeton and all the guys who played at Princeton, Jeff Petrie and stuff. But see, the guys that, so in the summer I play against Catholic school guys, like, and public school guys, like Tiny Archibald.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you remember these guys. They were like real good friends of mine. We go on the weekends. We go around to different playgrounds around the city and get games, you know, in Harlem. And when we'd have to have black guys coming with us then, because that was during the time before the riots. It was cool. After the riots, you had to be with guys, you know, who knew everything. And everybody these guys knew everybody in the streets, you know. So it was cool. But this guy, John Roach, who played in the ABA at first. He was a big three-point shooter when the ABA only had it. And Tommy Owens. They both went to South Carolina. They were all American there. Owens was 6'10". He was like a journeyman big guy.
Big center.
Who played like 12 years in the NBA, you know, and was like a good, you know.
Solid player.
Yeah, solid player. John Roach, on the other hand, was an all-star, and when Rick Barry got hurt, and he won over Dr. J on the New York Nets. He won the MVP for the playoffs when they won. You know, he was amazing. He went on. He played mostly in Denver, I think. You know, and he did great in the pros. He was 5'6" though when we were freshmen in high school when I knew him, and then he became 6'4" by the time he was in the pros, and see, since he was only 5'6", he perfected all these little man tricks. So when he got height, he was a backcourt player, and you know, yeah, and but there's a guy like, you know, I used to be able to, you know, he was small and maybe he's still a terrific player when he was young. You know, you could see he's going to be great, but he went on. I mean, you know, you know, and I make one reference to basketball and forced entries when I say I look at the TV. I say I screwed up. Yeah, I fucked up. I should have stayed playing ball. I could have been. I'm watching the NBA All-Star game while I'm writing it, and I'm saying I'm looking at guys that I used to seriously damage, scoring double figures, and now in the All-Star game, you know. And yeah, remember Dean Memminger, who was at Marquette? And, see, Dean, when he was a freshman in high school, at every college and scout knew him, you know. When he was in the 8th grade at St. Cecilia's, they knew him. At this grammar school that won the city championship that year. Because he was incredible, and he went right on to the varsity. No, he went on the junior varsity at first, then on the varsity in the sophomore year. But that was Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's last year at Powell Memorial. And then Rice, where Dean went with Charlie Yelverton, and where I went for a year before I went to Trinity. I was in the same class as Dean, and Charlie Yelverton, who went to Fordham, was All-American. He was the first-round draft choice of Portland Trailblazers, but he had trouble with the coach. He called him in the press a racist, you know. Charlie was, you know, he sat down on the floor during the national anthem to protest Vietnam, and they just ran him out of town. He became a big star in you know, in the European League.
Yeah.
No, not the CPA. He got the big bucks over in Europe.
Yeah.
He was one of the first ones because he was a first-round draft choice, you know, and I mean, but, you know, they just got rid of him, and he decided to go over there. He played for the Swedish team in the league, you know.
Now, upstairs you were saying,
he got in touch with me after, you know, like he came to a concert. He said, I'd been reading all this stuff in the press about you, you know. He said you're getting more press than J.R. Ewing. It was, the year he got shot in the last. So, I said, I thought it was a different Jim Carroll. Now you show up, and so I saw him. We had some laughs. And Dean went on to play for the Knicks, won the year that won the championships, you know. But he never lived up to his potential, even though he's an All-American at Marquette every year, you know, and he was a first-round draft choice. He never was lived up to what he was. He never had the outside shot, you know.
Upstairs, you were talking about, you know, I do another fucking rock and roll album. My friend Jeff said that you recently played with Marianne Faithfull at the Bottom Line. I mean, is anything going to come of that? Do you see doing more music?
Well, no, I didn't play with her.
Oh, you just saw her?
No, I did a show with her. We did 6 shows, but it was
supported each other.
Yeah. You know, like I just read poems. She had just an acoustic guitar player and a bass player. She had Fernando Sanders, who's Lou's bass player, and he is not playing with Lou anymore. You know, and that I don't know what the deal was.
Wasserman.
Well, but Fernando's amazing. You know, he plays a fretless bass, and he got, you know, he was playing chords that night because there's only the acoustic guitar and stuff aside from his lead lines and bass lines. So it was, she was great. She was in great voice. Sometimes Marianne, you know, when she was drinking, would get that croak, you know, that really bad, you know. But she was terrific, and all her shows were terrific because she's been, you know, clean, drinking and drugs for the past few years, and she's doing great. And it was just like perfect chemistry, and the audience was a perfect audience. Actually, that To the NEA poem and a few of the other new ones I wrote, like the Classy Kitchen poem, that strange one with the wordplay, you know. That I wrote all those that week before that show, or after the first show. I wrote more, you know, because I was so inspired by the shows and the audience. And that's when Giant Records, the Warner Brothers, Irving Azoff's new label, signed, you know, decided they wanted me to do a rock and roll record like other labels who, you know, I spoke to. And you know, Lenny Kaye, my old guitar player, is a big producer now, so he'd speak to guys who are, all these A&R guys who are big fans of mine because they're like, you know, they're in their late 20s now, but they were in high school or in college. Yeah, when they were, you know, working at the college radio station or something, when Catholic Boy and the paperback of Basketball Diaries first came out, and they were total fans of it, and they identify with the book and stuff, and so now they have all this power, and they keep asking him, what's Jim doing? Does he want to make a record? So I meet with some of them, and I think about once every 2 months of making an album, you know, but then I watch MTV or listen to radio for 5 minutes, and I get totally depressed about the idea. The thing is, I've been writing songs for other people, like the Blue Oyster Cult and some new groups, and I had 3 songs on Pod Skaggs' last album, which our music's incongruous, but well, our music's a lot different, but it was great to hear someone who could really sing do my lyrics, you know, and I dig Boz. He was always a fan of ours from the beginning, you know, and stuff, and it was great. But at any rate, you know, that was, while I was writing those, though, the point is, subliminally, I must have been thinking about maybe doing another album, because some of the more personal songs I was writing, like for the Cult especially and stuff, because then I was giving them the lyrics first, you know. With Boz, out of the 3, 1 was the lyric first that they put music to, but the others, I was just writing lyrics to. He had already scat sung the phrasing, though, so it was like mathematical. I had to fit each syllable in for where he was singing gibberish, you know. It was kind of like a puzzle. It was fun. But and you were able to come up with unexpected rhyme schemes doing it that way, you know. It was kind of like a cut-up piece or something. But at any rate, working with the Cult, I'd give them the lyrics first. They put music to it, and so that way I could work just straight out. With myself, if I was doing the music and the lyrics, I'd sometimes do the lyric first, sometimes get a riff and do it around that. Or else, and sometimes I get music from the guys in the band and write lyrics to that, you know. But I don't know. It's just I don't really. So they wanted me to do giant, like these other people did. That guy, I met with him, and they wanted me to do a music album. They said they'd do it for the second one, a spoken word record. But after he went to the A&R guy went to the show at the Bottom Line. They said they'd do a spoken word one first, and I don't have to do the second one. You know, I did rock and roll. The other thing is though, by that time it was a complication because Ireland called me up and they wanted to do it. They had released one of Ginsberg and one of Burroughs with a lot of music though, so they wanted a high production thing with a lot of musicians like the Burroughs and Ginsberg one. They said if you don't want that much and you don't need it, obviously, and like prose pieces like the diaries, like couldn't have music, more like soundtrack stuff maybe, you know.
Like more similar to the Kerouac things.
So I was just about to sign when I found out that they're having a lot of problems there, at the whatchamacallit, at Island. There's a hostile takeover in the way from Polydor, the distributor. I don't know all this business stuff. I don't follow it. So at any rate, the guy, I decided to call up the guy from Giant, and so I just got through with the contract and stuff. We're gonna do a reading. It's gonna be chancy because you got to spend a lot with this, really hotshot live sound guy, who does a lot of live stuff, comedy things or live shows, and he's a real whiz, but he's costing us a lot of money, and then we're going to go in the studio and do some things and just poems, read them in the studio, maybe put some double tracks on the vocals, 2 tracks running at once.
Sort of like murder mystery?
Well,
or not quite as
oh
involved.
Yeah, murder mystery. What was that on?
The
one with pale blue eyes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember that. I got Lou. I talked Lou into telling him that the guy who was the editor of the Paris Review in those days, Tom Clark, was a fan of his, and that he should send him some poems. And Lou was always hesitant. He thought real poets just thought of him as looked down on him as a rock and roll musician, and it kind of bothered him. So when I said that, he sent them off, and he accepted everything that Lou sent him. And one of them was the murder mystery
which
piece
they
typed
printed
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually it was after it was on the album, I think, that he sent it. But it was good to see it on the page.
Uh-huh.
But, and then I started to do readings with Lou. I got him to do some readings. But that was in the old days. I got him to do some more recently, a few years ago, We went out to Toronto and did a big one in New York. But at any rate, I don't know. The thing was, what was the point of making there? I mean, I just got.
Yeah, we were just talking about whether music or
Lou's country house and riding an all-terrain vehicle for a second. What were you saying?
We were talking about whether music or writing was coming more importantly, or which was pressing you more. While I was writing for these other people, I was keeping the more personal and the better songs, so maybe subconsciously I wanted to do it, Uh-huh.
But the point is,
You don't think the climate's right for this kind of thing to go over?
Well, right now I just want to think about the spoken word. The point I was making was we're going to record this thing, and it's going to take, live. So I got to get it right at the show,
Uh-huh.
We'll do some stuff after, and we might add a little music on a couple of tracks, like some weird music or maybe some samples, Get some rap type guy. I don't want a drum beat on it, and stuff. You can't do that without, scalatial like rap, which is like the formal name for what is that long black tradition of rapping, which is not new. Rap is not new, They've been doing it without that dance beat for a long time, without any music, Other poets have done it. It's scalatial poetry. It's like, the Greeks used to do it. It's like the flowing echo that the Turks do, where they just tell stories back and forth, and you kind of rap from one guy to the next. But that's about, I get this done and I'll see, But I'm going to do new pieces that I didn't read tonight. Like, see, I got some pieces that I in Boston, I'd read so much there in the past 2 years that when I did my show there last time, I did a piece, like a spontaneous piece of something, a story I thought up on the, like fiction, I thought up on the, it was about this guy coming up to me, this old guy coming up to me on the train and telling me this story, you know, about something that happened to him in his life, you know. And people believed the story, you know, they thought a guy really did come up to me in the train on the way up. I took the train, but nobody came up to me. I wrote it that way. I didn't write it, I just told it, you know. Then I did it down Washington, added some stuff, and I didn't want to write it up, that would ruin it. I'd make little notes, though, of to have in front of me of the salient parts that I should remember, you know. And then I'd take off from there if they get stuck, you know. And it's like a monologue in progress, like Spalding Gray does, you know. But it's even more risky because he has down after a while. I don't have this down yet, but I want to do it at St. Mark's, and I can't let it go on too long either, you know. And we could edit it, but not if it goes on so long that, you know, the ending isn't, you know. But so it's a risky thing. There's 2 pieces like that I'm going to do. The other's like just telling a story from this novel I'm working on, you know. And that's my main thing. That's why I don't really want to do rock and roll. It takes up too much time. If you do it, you got to go into it completely. Now I go out and do like 2 or 3 readings a month at clubs or colleges. And, you know, I'm on my own time and stuff. I just go out by myself and stuff, so
it's not as big as
and I don't have to worry about touring. I could keep doing my work. Because these novels, I got 2 novels I got, and I'm working on the first one now. And you know, my publisher wants them, my agent wants them. They keep bugging me, but I'm working now, so that's good. And because I was kind of stuck for a while. But at any rate, you know, that's